Welcome to Sebastian River High School's FSA night for parents of transitional and virtual students for the spring of 2021 testing. My name is Kevin Van Bermer. I am the Assistant Principal over Assessment for Sebastian River High School. We're going to talk about the subjects and grades that are assessed by the FSA and EOCs, our test schedule, our timing for each test, as well as scoring information and how to help your students, how we use the FSA results, some helpful resources, and the health and safety procedures for Sebastian River High School. Please note that all tests are computer-based unless your student has a IEP or 504 plan accommodation. The tests that are administered in the spring are the 9th and 10th grade FSA ELA test, which is a combination of the writing test here in April and the reading test in May. Also, Algebra 1 and Geometry have the EOC, as well as Biology and U.S. History. So our testing windows for FSA Writing, which is the first part of the ELA test grade, is April 14th and 15th for our Gen Ed Honors and Pre-IB students, April 20th for our Brick and Mortar IEP and 504 students, and April 22nd for our virtual and transitional IEP and 504 students. FSA Reading, the second part of that FSA ELA grade, is going to be May 6th and 7th for students who do not have a reading class this year, and May 19th and 20th for the students who do have a reading class. Algebra 1 and Geometry EOCs will be May 10th and 11th for Algebra 1 and May 12th and 13th for Geometry. Our Biology EOC is May 4th for all non-accommodated students and May 5th for our students who have IEPs and 504s or students who missed the May 4th test and are back at school on May 5th. U.S. History is going to be administered on May 3rd for non-accommodated students and May 5th for IEP and 504 students, as well as makeups. The overall makeup window runs from May 14th until the 28th, which is the last day of school. For our transitional and virtual families, we are offering a limited number of after-school and Saturday testing sessions for those who do not feel comfortable with their students being in a school day testing session. This is not required. Your student will be scheduled into a school day testing session, and you will receive that information from your student's transitional teacher or a direct focus message from me if your student is a virtual student. All tests must be done in person and on campus. The state does not allow for remote testing. If your student receives accommodations through an IEP or 504 plan and you plan to have them take part in a flexible testing option session, they must be signed up for a Saturday session denoted as for IEP or 504 students on the sign-up. They can still take part in the school day accommodated session, but the only accommodated sessions being provided in the flexible testing option is for Saturdays due to the extended time permitted in most IEPs and 504 plans. We are unfortunately unable to offer paper-based testing in the flexible testing options. Those tests must be done during the regular school day sessions. FSA Writing for grades 9 and 10, which is next week, those are 120-minute sessions with a 3-minute break after 60 minutes of testing. Please note that your student will actually spend about 2.5 hours with their FSA writing because the first 30 minutes will be for signing on to the computer and for the test administrator to read the directions to the students. Then they will get in a full 120 minutes of testing time. The Algebra 1 and Geometry EOCs are both 2-day tests given 90-minute sessions per day. However, if you are choosing a Saturday session, please note that that will be given on that single day. There will be a session in the morning, then they will break for lunch for about an hour. They must stay on campus, and then they will take the second session after lunch. The difference is session 1 here is without a calculator. The second 90-minute session is with a calculator. The FSA reading is just like I explained with the math. That is given over 2 days, 90 minutes on day 1, 90 minutes on day 2. Again, if you are choosing a Saturday session for reading, then they will get both sessions on that day with a lunch break in between. Please note that you do need, as a 9th and 10th grade student, both the writing and the reading. Biology and U.S. history are both 160-minute tests. A short break is given after 80 minutes of testing, and if your student is done after 80 minutes, they may leave and be dismissed from testing if they are finished. Please note that practice tests have been developed by the Department of Education. Your student, if they are in a transitional class, will have an opportunity to take a practice test in that class. If you are a virtual student, please make sure that you go to fsassessments.org and click on the practice test. These practice tests are geared to give students the ability to experience using the test platform and becoming familiar with the tools that will be used. Here are a couple of tips of how best to help your student prepare for testing. Make sure that they get a good night's sleep the night before the test so that they are prepared and refreshed for the testing day. Please make sure that if your student is taking a morning testing session, that they eat a good breakfast, or if they're coming in the afternoon, please make sure that they eat a good meal prior to coming so that they do not get hungry partway through the test, as there are no food and drinks permitted in the testing rooms. For our transitional students, please make sure that you are talking to them about the strategies that their teachers are working with them on in class, because each teacher teaching a tested subject area is spending time with the students on those test-specific strategies. If your student is a virtual student, please note that YouTube has a lot of good videos on test-taking strategies for students. And finally, most importantly, be a cheerleader for your student. Many students get stressed about testing, especially those that are graduation requirements that I'm just going to speak about in a minute. So make sure that you tell them that you believe in them so that they have a great mindset heading into the day of testing. All right, so electronic devices. Please know that no electronic devices are permitted during testing. In fact, even possessing them or having them within arm's reach is cause for immediate invalidation of your student's test per state rules. So we understand that they will likely bring a cell phone with them to a testing session, but please know that these, as well as any smartphones or anything else they have with them that is an electronic device, will be collected by the teacher in the test session at the start of each session, and they are securely held by the teacher at the teacher station for the duration of the test, and then they are promptly returned at the end of the test session. The way we run it is each student will take a post-it note, write their name on it, turn off their electronic devices, put their electronic device and a post-it note into a Ziploc baggie, which they will seal and then hand to the teacher. That way, no one's electronic devices are directly handled by someone other than the student. So FSA scores. So when you get a score report for your student, that includes a scale score, the achievement level, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, the percentile rank of your student with others who took the test, and raw scores. Scores will be released during the summer and will be viewable in Focus. You may also pick up a paper report once we receive those from the state. When those come in, we will notify our families through an automated call or through our Facebook and Twitter accounts when those do become available. That's typically in late summer, and if you choose, you can come and pick up the paper score. This is what an FSA score report looks like. The most important one for parents and students to find is this one right here. That is your performance level score. Again, that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 3, 4, and 5 are considered passing scores on all FSA and EOC tests. 1s and 2s are not passing scores. Those are considered inadequate or below satisfactory scores by the state of Florida. So how are the FSA results used? They do, of course, provide us with additional information about your students' proficiencies. The FSA results for ELA are used to determine if a student will be placed in a reading class for next year, and passing the math and the 10th grade ELA score for FSA are required for graduation in the state of Florida. So to meet those graduation requirements, the student must earn a passing score on the 10th grade FSA for ELA, that is the combined score from writing and reading, and they either have to pass the Algebra 1 or the Geometry EOCs. Additionally, their score on the Algebra 1, Geometry, Biology 1, and or U.S. History EOCs do account for 30% of your student's grade in the course. Please note that passing the Biology 1 and U.S. History EOCs are not graduation requirements, but again, their score does count towards 30% of their grade for the course. To find out more information about the FSA, you can go to fsassessments.org. This is what the homepage looks like. Again, they have a Student and Families tab that you can access for resources. Right here on the right-hand side is where you would take any practice tests that you want. So fsassessments.org is probably your first stop for helpful resources. The Florida Department of Education website as a whole is fldoe.org, and there is the student accountability reports that have to do with school grades at schoolgrades.fldoe.org. Now, we understand that in this pandemic year, health and safety is a primary concern for everyone. Please know that we are committed to keeping our testing environment as safe and healthy as possible. And in each testing location, we will have hand sanitizer, disinfecting wipes that are used by the teachers between testing sessions, but those sanitary disinfecting wipes will be available for any student who feels the need to make sure that they clean their area themselves prior to using it. But again, please know that those are cleaned between testing sessions. Masks will be required during all testing sessions, and flexible student option sessions are limited to a maximum of 20 students per lab. And each and every night here at Sebastian River High School, we have a crew that goes through from 10 p.m. to about 6 a.m. doing electrostatic misting to further disinfect all learning areas here at the school. Hope that you have enjoyed this informative screencast, and please, if you have questions, reach out to me via email. That link to my email can be found on the Transitional and Virtual Parent Testing page on the Sebastian River High School website. Thank you very much for watching. I know that your student is going to do great this spring in all their tests, because we want to make sure that they can't hide that shark pride. Have a great day.